is Andrey Voytsekhovskyy, and I just want to tell you my story and the story of my family. As a lot of you know, in Ukraine there is a war happening, and I am from eastern Ukraine, from a city called Mariupol, and now this city is around a month has been in a blockade. So, and my story. The very first day of the war, we were already ready for it to happen, and maybe a few days before the war officially happened, we were already ready with my wife for it to happen. We have our backpacks ready to go, and a few nights before the war started, we were sleeping, wearing our clothes, and hiding our son in the more safe room in the house. And the day the war started, I was making a tattoo. The night before the war started, I was making a tattoo to my friend, so I was not sleeping. And something 4 o'clock of the morning, I was finishing and putting all the stuff in the places when we started to hear louder explosions than usually with my wife. So my wife also wake up, and since 5 o'clock of the morning there was like very loud explosions happening nearby the city, but yet there was no explosions happening in the city. There was not missiles falling in the city. So since 5 o'clock of the morning till midday, there was this loud bombings happening, but none of them was landing. And around 1 o'clock, since 12 to 1 o'clock, there was like a more or less quiet moment. And we used to have a dog, so I decided, while it's kind of more quiet, to go and walk my dog. So I go outside, and I like went like 25 meters, around 25 meters from our building, and exactly in this moment I hear like a very loud whistling, and it's like a mixture of whistling and thunder at the same time. And at the moment I realized that it is a missile that is going to land really close, close to me. Like I put my body closer to the floor, and I just started to run in direction to my building. My dog got really afraid and started to run from one side to another, and then get stuck in a bush, and then I was calling her from there. And when I came home with my dog, that's good that my dog get saved. My wife, she can't believe in that, like that. Exactly in the moment I went outside, the bombing started, and that was the very first missiles that fell down in the city, because that was the eastern part of the city, so the closest one to Russia, and the missiles were going from there. So right after that, my friend called me, and he asked me if I'm still there, like in that region of the city, and I say yeah. So he told me like that he is going to come and just evacuate us from this part of the city. So he evacuated me, my wife, my son. He was hiding under the table in that moment, and my dog. And also in like next building from our house, there was the building where my mother and my grandmother was living. So we are also evacuated, my mother and my grandmother, and they evacuated us. He evacuated us to a bomb shelter in the center of the city, and then I was just watching people with cars leaving the city, and I just knew that I don't have a car, so I can't leave the city. And a little bit later, I figured it out that there's gonna be evacuation train happening at 1 o'clock of the night, and I knew that we have to leave. So I came to my mother and I asked her to go with me, with my family, with my wife, my son, my dog, to be evacuated. But because the war was like already 8 years happening in Ukraine, and we were living next to it, nobody was thinking that it is gonna be something really serious. We get used to it, so we thought it's gonna be like always just some explosions and then everything will be over. But this time it wasn't like that. But we didn't know that, and so my mother decided to stay in Mariupol, hoping that everything is gonna be okay. And my grandmother, and also my father and my sister and my nephew, they all stay in Mariupol, in this city. And I have to do this really difficult decision, uh, and I knew that nobody can make this decision except me, to evacuate my son and my wife and our dog together from the city. And knowing that my mother and my family don't want to get evacuated, and I know that this is my responsibility to evacuate my son. Nobody will take this decision except me. And so with this pain in my heart, I was leaving the city, taking the train. And then another thing that was really difficult to do is to leave the safe bomb shelter and to sit in the train, which is not safe at all. But we did it, and the way was like difficult, in the sense you were always wondering, are we going to arrive, or we are going to stay somewhere in the middle of the way. Nobody knew that for that moment. And when we arrived to Ternopil, um, after a while, we spent here like few weeks with my family, like with my wife and my son. And then we realized that we have to give away our dog, because we, being just a refugees, is really difficult to have a dog. And to make that decision is like to see your life falling apart. You lose your house, you're forced to give away your dog, the dog that you buy to your son. And it was a difficult also decision to make, but we knew that this is the right decision that we were forced to do. And then in a while, we were talking with my wife, and we understand that it is safer for her and for my son to leave the country, because our son needs to have a childhoodness, and the war is not a normal thing, that it's not the normal way to live. The normal life is the normal way to live. And so in a few days, my wife and my son leave the country, and my son, the birthday of my son was out of the country, was far away from his father, but we knew that this is the right thing to do. And today, I'm far away from my wife. I'm far away from my son, but I'm here in Ukraine, doing my best, volunteering, helping with humanitarian help, finding place for refugees. And I just think that this is not a question of one family. This is not a question of one country. I think that this is now a question of the whole world. I think that everyone have to take care of everyone. There is no questions that it's not mine or not yours. We all have to do something. We all have to do our best on helping, on changing the situation. So yeah, this is my story, and yeah, just God bless you.